It's the grandson of right thought. I want to talk about the over-righteousness of the Christian, the over-righteousness of anybody. But since the conversation I had this morning was about Christianity, I want to discuss this because it's a problem that a lot of people have. And I won't necessarily say it's a problem, it's just a phase that you go through. All believers will pass through this phase of over-righteousness because they seek to do the will of Abba Yah. They seek to be pleasing to him. And since in their ignorance they don't really know what pleases Abba Yah, they think they do. Then they do these acts and these rituals and go through these rudiments of men and a lot of traditions of men to seem over righteous, just like the Jews in the Bible did. And you see, there's many times in the Bible that you'll see this transition of over righteousness into balance or over wickedness into balance. Abba is always bringing things into balance. If you read the book of Ecclesiastes, Ecclesiastes meaning the set apart ones or the called out ones or the church. Ecclesiastes means the church. So this book is only speaking to those called out of the world. And he says in that book that all is vanity. He says, don't be over righteous much or don't be over wicked much. He says, why should you destroy yourself being over righteous? Why should you do that? You all have the same ending. So then why be over righteous, thinking that you can earn it? You see, by works. Just like the Galatians in the Bible. He called them foolish Galatians. He says, you have been set free from the rudiments of the law, and now you seek to go back to bondage. See, when you're in over righteousness, you're actually in bondage to those elements because you think those elements have power over you to keep you from getting to the goal. The ultimate goal is I am, guys. To be one with I am. And if you know you are I am, that is despite what you ate, what you drank, what you smoked, what you shot up, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, I am. And if you have faith enough to believe that I am, then you have faith enough to be balanced. Now, I want to ask you guys a question. If you have a balance and you want it to be equal, then it has to be what we call balanced. It can't be unbalanced scale, or that's called iniquity. So if we were using scales instead of a cash register, we used scales for transactions. If somebody had a false balance, that's an abomination to the Lord. You heard that? A false balance is an abomination. So not just a false balance in the physical realm with a balance of scales that you put up there, but within yourself. If you are unequally balanced within yourself, then you are also an abomination to God. You see, you have to be a balanced scale in order to judge the weight of something righteously. You understand that? You can't be over on the righteous side over much and then think that you're going to be able to judge things righteously. You won't. You are an unbalanced scale. Do you understand that? Can you see it? You know how they have the Libra holding the scales blindfolded with the two scales and they're perfectly balanced so that when you put something on there, it will give you the truth of the weight of it. Well, the same thing within yourself. If you are unbalanced, you can't get the weight, the truth of it. You become critical of others and judgmental without knowing what it is for yourself. That's a hypocrite. You see? You're downing somebody else for doing something without even knowing what it's like to do it, without even knowing the effects of it. And what the scripture says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowing. You think you know, but you don't. Now I'm going to give you an example of this. John the Baptist and Yahusha represent this part of your life. If you are over righteous, then you will be John the Baptist in this story. Remember, Yahusha said John the Baptist came fasting. He lived in the wilderness. He was set apart and separated from the world. Listen, he was living in the wilderness, separated from the world, which is what we were told to do. So he did everything to the extreme. He separated himself totally, went out and lived in the wilderness. He ate locust and honey only. So he was very strict and over righteous. And he got beheaded. And he also said that I am not worthy to even unlatch Yahusha's sandal. He is greater than me. He who comes after me is greater than me. That's within yourself. Listen closely to this. At the end of your journey before Yahusha truly came into your life, see, like John, John was the last prophet before Yahusha came. Understand that. He was the last one before Yahusha came. So he was the greatest. He's the greatest of all men born of a woman, Yahusha said. But he who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than John. Because he's found balance within himself like Yahusha did. Watch what Yahusha says. I came eating and drinking, and they said, I have a devil, and I am a gluttonous man and a winebibber. They said John has a devil because he fasted. Now, look at yourself. People will think that you have a devil if you're over righteous then. If you don't eat anything besides locust and honey and you live out there in the wilderness, they're going to think your ass is crazy too. You see? Just like they thought of John. And then he said, but if I came eating and drinking like the Son of Man did, then they will say he's gluttonous and he's a winebibber. So Yahusha came with balance is what he's telling you. I came balanced. Not over righteous or over wicked. I came to show the way. Right through the middle. I came to show the way. You see? So, I am the way, he says. So do you see that? Balance is the way. A scale. Think about Yahushua on the cross and the two thieves on either side. One scale and another scale. And the man in the middle. You see? Judging or weighing the hearts of men. Understand that? Understand it. So how can you judge the heart of a man if you can't weigh properly? If you have unequal scales? It is impossible to do that. So that's why he says it is impossible to please God without faith. How can you execute faith if you're being over righteous? Is that faith? Faith is the substance of the thing hoped for, evidence not seen. So over righteous people base everything off what they can see. So they're not using faith in their life. They think being righteous will get them the kingdom of heaven. Being good will get them the kingdom of heaven. But who said you are good? There is no good but the Father. You see that? So like I said, John the Baptist had his ministry all the way until Christ. Well, that's within you. So John the Baptist is like the Moses inside of you who's going to lead you to the promised land. He's going to bring you to the fullness to Christ. And then Christ is going to take over. You're no longer going to need the schoolmasters or the law to lead you when Christ comes, because you're going to be set free from the laws and the rudiments that all you Christians keep trying to keep to say that you're being righteous. I keep the laws of God. I keep this and keep this and keep this. What does the book say? Loving your neighbor is the fulfillment of the law. He who loveth his neighbor does no ill to his neighbor, therefore he fulfills the law. Love fulfills the law. But if you don't have faith, you don't believe that. You see that? Now I have a question. A lot of you over-righteous Christians believe that you're supposed to eat certain things. You can't eat certain things. Like a lot of you will not eat meat. Now I have a question. Did Yahushua eat meat? Your master, who you say you serve, did he eat meat? Did he drink wine? So then you who don't do these things, are you actually emulating your master or are you emulating somebody else? Are you emulating somebody else? Or actually, are you actually following Christ, who ate with unwashed hands? Now the Jews washed their hands up to the elbows. This is an example to show you. Yahushua didn't wash his hands, he just ate. And they say, hey man, that defiles you. He says, what goes in a man's mouth does not defile him. It's what's come out of his heart defiles him, guys. But if you're over righteous, then you think that if you eat this particular thing, it will defile you. You believe that. Like I said, some Christians do not eat meat. They're over righteous. They say, I don't even touch meat. Well, Yahushua ate the fish. He cooked fish for his men and they ate it. So it must be good. Or he wouldn't have done that. But you have a lot of over righteous Christians who will not accept that. Well, that's John the Baptist. Remember, he ate locust and honey. That would be you. You're saying, I'm not going to eat that fish. No, I'm going to eat locust and honey. That's all I eat. I'm going to live in the wilderness separated from everybody else, and I'm going to be righteous before God. And you're not going to have any experiences of life to be able to empathize with your brother. You can't empathize, and you won't empathize. You will just be an asshole to everybody because you think that you're over righteous. You think you're more righteous than other people. Remember the prayer that Yahushua said the Pharisee prayed? He said, I thank God, the publican, I mean, he prayed and said, I thank God that I am not like these other people, these heathens. That was his prayer. And the heathen, the sinner, when he prayed, he put his head down. He didn't even lift his eyes up to heaven. He just put his head down and said a very lowly, humble prayer. So the righteous man said, I thank you, Lord, that I'm not like these other people. And his prayer was rejected. You see that? So when you're walking around saying, I think I'm not like these other people are, you're not. You're not like them. What makes you different? Just what does make you different? As the elect, the only thing that sets us apart from other people is Abba Yah's spirit. So it's not you. It's Abba Yah that makes you different. So then how can you say, I'm this and I do that and I do this and I... No man is going to be able to boast about this. It's Abba Yah's spirit who's doing it. You see? Who's leading you and guiding you in all truth. Is that not what the scripture says he would do? So this over-righteousness doesn't allow for experience, which doesn't allow for knowledge, which leaves you destroyed. Because you have much fear. That's why you don't do anything. Because you are greatly in fear. You don't think that's what it is. You don't think that's what it is, but it is. It's actually fear that's keeping you from doing these things. For the majority of my life, I was the same way. I told you guys, I didn't do a lot of shit. I was like pointing fingers at people and shit. Talking about, look at these guys getting drunk. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. I didn't do any of that shit. And I'm sitting there pointing fingers at everybody else. Look at that shit. Look at these guys. Look at these people. Look at this people. Look at this people. Look at this people. Not realizing how ignorant I was being. How judgmental I was. How much of an asshole I was being. I didn't know it until I read his word and it revealed it to me. Wait a minute, Abba Yah. Moses was leading the children of Israel out of Egypt into the promised land, but yet he didn't lead them into the promised land. He led them to it, but not in it. Joshua had to lead them in. So then the same thing with John the Baptist. John the Baptist led those people, had those disciples. He led them to Christ. And he says, now Christ's going to take over. I've led you as far as I can. I can't lead you any more than this. Just like Moses did. I led the Israelites to the point as far as I can take them. Now Joshua, it's your job to take them over. Now Joshua had to do some killing and shit, didn't he? See what I mean? He had to be a conquering lion and kill. Just like David, just like Yahusha. So the one that comes after Moses is the one who's a conqueror, who's going to set up the kingdom. You see? Smash everything else down and set on the throne. You see? And those ones, look at those personalities. David, Joshua, Yahusha, the one that comes after. They're always a conqueror. They're always a warrior. Every time. Yahusha was drinking wine. I told you guys this. He made a whip and beat people's ass with it. He was eating. They said he was a glutton. Look at this guy. Look at him eating all that. Look at him. Look at him. Did it stop him from being who I am? No, it didn't. That's why he says what goes in doesn't defile you. It's what comes out. So now, if you are following Christ, are you still saying what goes in defiles you? Then you don't follow Yahusha. It's that simple. If you're going against his words, then you don't actually believe him. He said what goes in your mouth doesn't defile you. Do you believe that or not? No, I still believe that it defiles me. All right. Well, then you believe that. Then you believe it. See, because we are of the spirit. We are not from below. We are not of the flesh. So those things that are of the flesh, yes, they may profit the flesh or not profit the flesh, just like eating certain things. But does it profit your spirit? Does the spirit actually be affected by the eating or the drinking? No. You see? That's a heart job. That's heart work. So what's going on in your heart that is telling you what's wicked and what's wrong is the question. Have you had a heart check yet? Are you dealing with unbalanced scales? Are you a worker of iniquity? Because iniquity means unbalanced scales. I keep telling you guys this. So don't be over righteous or over wicked. Do you understand that? You think because you're not being over wicked, you're righteous. And so you're good. He says don't be over righteous. That's still an unbalanced scale, which means that's still iniquity. Do you get it? Being over righteous is still iniquity. He will still say, depart from me, you workers of iniquity, unbalanced scale. Why is your scale not balanced? How can you empathize with your brother who's an alcoholic if you've never been drunk and experienced it? To know why it pulls a man into it. You don't know why because you've never experienced it. So you can't help him. You've never overcome it. So you don't know what it's like. So how are you going to help him? It's the same thing Yahushua had to tell John. When you guys break down, when you get deep into that understanding of Yahushua and John's relationship, then you'll be able to understand it. Why he said, he who comes after me is greater than me. Why they were even saying that about each other. Why John sent disciples to Yahushua to ask Yahushua questions about who he was. What is actually going on? It's happening within you. Before Yahushua comes inside of you, John is the last one, which is the over-righteous spirit that you have inside of you. To do everything perfectly and right. That won't get you the kingdom. Look at Moses. He kept Torah perfectly. He is the one who established the law. You see? But he offended the Most High one time before the people, and that was it. Because that was his own attitude. I have to be perfect before the people. Nobody said this. You are perfect, Moses. You don't have to become it. You are it. When I chose you, you were it. But since you didn't believe it, then you lacked faith, and that's why you can't enter right now. John, you're lacking faith. While you think you're not, you are imperfect still. You have not experienced the joys of having a child, John. You have not experienced the joys of making love with a woman, John. Raising a family. Being amongst friends. Laughter and joy. You've never experienced those things because you're too over righteous to allow yourself to be that free. Because you think it's going to change you. So then you are not, is what you're saying. You see, if I am something, then I know nothing outside of me can change what I am within. That's what Yahushua has brought to us, the teaching. Nothing can change you from what Abba Yah created in you. What Abba Yah has put together, let no man put asunder. So don't let anybody tell you different than what you actually are. Oh no, but if I what did Yahushua say? They called me a wine bibber. So because he drank wine, he was a drunk? No. So if you drink wine, does that mean you're drunk? No, it doesn't. But people in this world may call you that. And if you believe that, then you're going to fall victim to their ideals. Just like Yahushua said, they called me this. Did Yahushua ever say, I'm a wine bibber, I'm a glutton? Is glutton one of the 7 deadly sins, gluttony? Yes. So how could Yahushua be under the influence of a demon or a 7 deadly sin if he is who he is? He's not under the influence of that demon. That is your ideals based off of what you see, but you can't deny the truth that's coming out of the man. So then why can't you see that he is not defiled by that wine that he drank? Or eating with unwashed hands. Or eating meat. Because you lack understanding. That's all it is. You lack it. You have not tested it to see. And once you do, then the judgmental part of you or the over-righteous part of you will fall. You will be humbled. Because it's coming anyway. You're going to be humbled to Yahushua. He is greater than you. And you're going to have to humble yourself to that and become one with him. And once you become one with him, you become balanced. And now you can judge righteous judgment. Don't you see that? You can't judge righteous judgment as long as you're over righteous or over wicked. Y'all can't see that? If you're over wicked, then you won't judge right. If you're over righteous, you won't judge right. So that's why the ecclesia or the called out ones were told not to be this, but to find balance and to fear God and keep his commands. That's it. And what are his commandments? To love God and love your neighbor as yourself. It's so simple. Y'all want to start listing off all of these commands and laws and all this other shit when it's so simple. The law is fulfilled in this. That a man love his neighbor as himself. That fulfills it. But y'all want to make it hard? You foolish Galatians want to return back to the rudiments of the law? Back into bondage that you were delivered from? What does he say? He says Ishmael and Isaac represent the two covenants, guys. Ishmael gendereth to bondage, which mother is Hagar. But we are children of the free woman, Sarah, or Jerusalem, who is the mother of us all. We are children of the free. And what does the scripture says? The bondwoman child and the free woman's child won't be an heir together. So you won't be able to have both of them within yourself. You're going to have to decide which one you're going to be. You're going to have to cast out Ishmael, like the scriptures attested to, and the bondwoman, so that you can become Isaac and be the free man under the free woman, a child of the free woman. Not bondage, which is what you're in when you say, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this, I can't do that. That's bondage. Bondage says you can't do some shit. You see? But I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me, through the truth, which strengthens me. I know the truth of it, therefore I can surpass it. But if I don't know the truth, if I think a lie, which is if I drink that, it would have power over me, then I am weak. And it's that simple. You are not saying I am strong. I am powerful. I am wise. If I am wise, then how can I be tricked by something outside of myself if I am wise? It is because I don't believe I am, so I got to listen to that thing to give me wisdom. But I am wise, so I don't have to listen to that thing to give me wisdom. Because I am. I told you guys, for the longest time, I was the same way. I didn't do a lot of shit. But what does that cause you to do? It causes you to be a Jew. To be living one way and talking one way, but secretly in your mind and in your heart having other kinds of thoughts, wicked thoughts of your brothers. You're not loving your brother as yourself when you're being critical of his actions all the damn time and what he's doing, as if that is what he is. You're not be able to judge righteous judgment. You see? You're judging outward appearance, what something looks like on the outside, without having the experience to relate. So you are no king when you do that. Because you're not able to empathize with your people. You are going to lack wisdom. What did Solomon say? With all your wisdom, get knowledge. With your knowledge, get understanding. So now I understand what it is. Let me see. Let me drink some wine here. Did Noah get drunk off the wine? Did the Abba say he was righteous and perfect? But he got drunk off wine. But Abba said he was perfect. So then what do you say? Noah's a drunk? Noah's not righteous? He's wicked? Well, what does it matter what the fuck you say? He's justified by Abba, y'all. Y'all see that? Y'all don't understand it. It's not about those things. You think it is. You think it is, but we are above that. Yahusha has risen us to the truth of being balanced within ourselves. Understanding, if I am over righteous, I won't even have sex with a woman and produce a child. I won't even have a family. This is what John did. I won't even interact with people. I'll just live off in the wilderness by myself, separated. I won't even talk to anybody else. Even if I have a message to give, I won't do it because I'm separated. You're doing everything to the extreme, trying to be perfect instead of knowing that you are perfect. That's what separates the truth from those who are not in the truth. You're still searching for something you already are. He said the kingdom of heaven is within you, not will be within you, is coming within you. It is in you. It's in you all the time. But you reject it when you're trying to perfect yourself. You already are. Was Abraham chosen? Okay, let's see. Did Abraham laugh when he was told he was going to have a son? But did he have a son? And was not Abraham called God's friend? So though they laughed at God, Abraham and Sarah laughed about it because they lacked faith there for a moment. They got the desire of their heart regardless. So is Abba going to say, hey, you didn't believe me, so fuck it. You laughed at me when I said this, so the hell, I'm not giving you shit. No, he understood why it would be hard for him to believe it. He understood. But he wanted to prove his power, so he allowed it to be so. To prove his power and to show faith, to show us what faith will do if you believe despite what it looks like. You see? And this goes on and on and on and on and on. David was Abiyah's anointed. Did he lay with Bathsheba? Yes. Was Abiyah happy about that? No. Did Abiyah bless them to have a child named Solomon out of that union? Yes. Was Solomon the next king? Yes. Did Solomon build the temple of the house of God? Yes. So if David was being over righteous much, that would never have happened. But he saw that in himself, and he didn't deny it. He said, wow, I had that within myself just like the next man. It had to be revealed to him. And how was it revealed to him? The prophet Nathan came to David and said, David, there was a man who had 1,000 sheep, and then there was a man who had one beautiful sheep, perfect sheep. The man who had 1,000 sheep took the one sheep from the man who had the one and killed him. What should happen to this man that had 1,000 sheep? And David said, that man should be killed. See? And Nathan said, that man is you, David. And David repented for that. But did you see his ideals before he repented? He said, that man should die for doing that. He knew that was wicked. That a man take another man's sheep when he already had 1,000. David, you had 1,000 women. Why did you take that man's one woman? And then he saw it for himself and humbled himself. Oh, shit, damn, you're right. You're right. And then the child that they originally had died. David prayed that that child would live, and Abba took that child and then gave them Solomon instead. So once David repented of his folly and paid the cost, which was losing his child, then Abba blessed him with the truth. But he had to see himself first and see that he has to be balanced within himself. Not over righteous or over wicked, David. Just like the rest of us. Finding balance is what the truth will do. And then when somebody puts something on your scale, it will judge it righteously. Now, if your scale is like this, it's supposed to be like this, but it's like this. So I put something on this side, and it comes down to here, and it comes up to there. Well, it still looks like it's lacking on this side. But if my scales were like this, it would actually look like that. You see what I'm saying? So I can't actually see it right because my scales are not right. They're not perfectly balanced. Scripture says prove all things. What does prove all things mean? How do you prove something? You test it. Didn't it say that David put on Saul's armor and proved it? So he proved that it was armor by putting it on. No. Proved it means tested it, tried it out. Guys. So he put on Saul's armor and proved it, or tested it out to see, and he found that it wasn't good, so he took it off. It didn't fit right. So then if he says prove all things, what is Abiyah saying to you? Test it and see what's good and what's bad, instead of letting other people tell you what it is. See for yourself. Then you'll know. But the over-righteous say, I've never done that. I've never touched it. Then how do you know whether it's good or bad? Because of what I've heard and seen. Well, that's not judging right. He says, don't judge what your eyes are hearing. Y'all get this? Silawam Yisrael. Oh, and by the way, Halaman or Helman, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. This message was specifically for the conversation you and I had. So I hope you gain some understanding from this. To come out of those ways of being a Pharisee, the Jews, you see, and coming into the truth, freedom, liberty, the law of liberty, loving your neighbor as yourself, fulfilling the commandments of Abiyah. Silawam.